You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. It's great to be with you here today. I'm excited to get into our Total Wellness Tuesday episode, and it's a little bit of a rant. I have to warn you in advance, and I don't know if it's because it's the summertime here in New England and my pitta is at an all-time high with all this heat and humidity, but lately I've been really, not in a negative way to any one person, but really trying to call out a lot of what is absolutely wrong in our society, in our culture, and holding us back as a human being population from achieving what we want. So there's not a person out there, I don't believe, at a deep level that really wants to get well, right? They want to be in good shape. Most people do want this. They want to have a clear mindset. They want to be able to think without brain fog. They want good energy, endurance, stamina. They want to be able to live life to its fullest. I really believe that's what most people want. But the problem is this. If anything starts to become off, which eventually it will if you don't know what to look for, and we'll talk about that today, and you go to your PCP, you go to your doctor, they are trained in a form of medicine that is taught to mask symptoms. It is not your MD's fault. It's not your PCP's fault. It's not your specialist's fault. They were taught by a system of medicine that's shared in pretty much all over the world now. I mean, even when I was in India, India was once ruled by Britain, I believe. I'm one of the worst, at overall in terms of like history and all that. It's not what I put my time and energy in. I know I should study it more, but that's neither here nor there right now. So there's only a small section of the India in general that follows just traditional Ayurvedic medicine, even though that's where Ayurveda was born. So you have to understand that this is a thought process that has permeated the world. But it's one of the worst mindsets you can have and ways of treating people. And I'm going to show you today that it's pretty much the only system of doing anything in life that's masked, that's really predicated on masking symptoms. That's it. So again, it's not your doctor's fault. I'm not calling out MDs right now. What this is a calling to MDs and PCPs and others out there not to treat the symptoms, not to medicate the symptoms. So for the most part, when you go to your doctor with high cholesterol, they're not really going to talk to you about true nutrition. We know nutrition that works for high cholesterol. They're not going to talk to you about that. They're going to not talk with you about exercise. They're not going to talk to you about stress. They're not going to talk to you about omega-6s versus omega-3s. They're not going to talk to you about liver-based issues that could be leading to higher levels of cholesterol. They're not going to talk about any of the underlying reasons of why you may have high cholesterol. They'll probably just say it's genetic, which allows them to make you feel more at ease and enable you to just take your slip of paper to your local pharmacy and pick up your prescription for whatever type of statin or cholesterol-lowering drug of that physician's choice. And if the cholesterol isn't lowered enough with the drug, they'll give you a higher dosage or switch you to a different medication. Here's the thing. At no point do you ever working on the reasons why you might endogenously, which means your own liver producing more cholesterol, or exogenously taking in more cholesterol, and how your body can't process it. They won't talk to you about your ApoE genotype. They won't talk to you about, again, nutrition and plant-based and all that great stuff. They're not going to talk about that at all. What they will do is do what they're trained to do. And again, that's why I don't blame MDs and I don't blame your PCP or specialist. They are helping you to the best of what they've been trained to do. And they're very good at that, right? So they know how to do that. So no disrespect. It's tough to become a medical doctor if you're not intelligent. Like that's just very difficult, right? I believe everyone has that capability, but you have to take intelligence and a lot of dedication because you need to make it through medical school, which is not easy. So you deserve to be commended for making it through that. However, the whole process is backwards. And that's because you are not doing anything to treat the underlying disorder that caused the high cholesterol in the first place. You might say, well, it's just genetic. You can't tell me that because you've had the same gene since you were born. So if you had high cholesterol at 6 years old, agreed, that is a different story. But do you know how rare that is? It's extremely, extremely rare. Extremely rare. So if you didn't have high cholesterol at 6 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, but also, again, I know 10-year-olds now, I can see them and I want to help them, but I know it's not my place to interject. But they're 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight at 10 years old. I know their arteries are already being clogged at 10 years old. And I have kids coming to my practice at 10, 11, 12 years old with rheumatoid arthritis. And again, I know that's not their fault, but they've been on so much antibiotics and so many different things, and it's led to these autoimmune issues. But again, if you go to your doctor with autoimmune, what are you going to get? Some type of biological drug, right? Shut down your immune system. Is that going to help in the long run or is that going to hurt? It's going to absolutely hurt. So, but we know this, right? You know this in medicine. So what do? Well, they're going to give you then a different medication for the new ill because there is literally a pill for every ill, which is why we keep coming up with new disease names every single week. A new disease, right? A new discovery, a new disease. But they're literally just coming up with acronyms for symptoms. I read this on my podcast over the weekend. I hope that you tuned in and literally coming up with just all sorts of bizarre names for symptoms, for inflammation. That's it. But I want to show you, I want to prove to you, and then tell you how we can go about changing this, that this is literally the only system we have in the world for fixing things. And again, we know we're not fixing them. We're simply masking the symptoms. It's the only thing we have. If you take your car to a mechanic with your check engine light on, if they're a good mechanic and they really want to fix your car, are they just going to tap into the computer and turn the light up? Probably not. What are they going to do? They're going to work on that car until they resolve why the check engine light is off or why the check engine light went on. If your car has let's just say a flat tire, what are we going to do? Are we just going to pump up that tire and every time it goes flat again, just keep pumping it back up? We're not. We're going to patch it, replace it, repair it. We're going to fix the underlying root cause, right? If someone, we know this, I mean, again, we know this with like smaller things. Someone has a splinter in their hand, starting to get red, starting to get infected. Do we put a bandaid over it? Do we cover it up so that we can't see it? No, we're going to remove that splinter. We're going to use natural-based antimicrobials and antibacterials to help with that infected area. And again, if you need acute-based medical care because your life is in jeopardy, then that's what I recommend, conventional medicine, no doubt about it. I don't believe that you should not see your PCP and MD. What I'm saying is, if you have a chronic-based health condition, don't mask those symptoms. You can't. It's only going to lead to greater issues. If all your mechanic did was turn off the check engine light, guess what's going to happen? Eventually that car, it's going to break down again. Something more severe is going to happen because you ignored the warning signs. If your oil light comes into your car and you turn it off or you ignore it, you run that car into the ground. Your engine will literally seize up. It is the same for anything. Your body is telling you through its symptoms, that's your check engine light, that's your oil light, that's your gas light. It's telling you that if you wake up groggy each morning, if you wake up tired, your body is not rejuvenating itself overnight. Why? Why is that? Is it a lack of minerals, a lack of vitamins? Is it toxicity? What is it? You can figure that out. It's an early warning sign. If you have adult acne, if you have skin rashes, if you're starting to age faster and you can see it on the outside, it's a warning sign that the body is oxidizing and aging faster on the inside. There might be bacterial overgrowth on the inside causing that acne. There may be hormonal issues on the inside causing the acne. But don't make no mistake about it. Your body is telling you. If you're starting to feel more stiff and your joints hurt, what is going on inside the body that's happening? Should you just take Advil and mask those symptoms? What if you get headaches on a weekly basis? Your body is telling you something's wrong. It's telling you that there is some type of circulation issue through the cervical area of your neck, or that there's histamine issues, there's allergies, there's food sensitivities. There could be many, many things. Mineral imbalances, huge. If you see your high blood pressure start to creep up, and it's at 130 now over 82, 135 over 88, don't wait for you to be diagnosed with high blood pressure and then be put on medication. When people get put on high blood pressure medication, they turn into zombies. Do not wait. Figure out why you have the high blood pressure. Is it an imbalance between calcium and magnesium? Is it an imbalance between sodium and potassium? Is it high cortisol? Is it some type of hardening of the arteries? You can figure it out. There's always a reason why. But what does conventional medicine do? Conventional medicine says, high blood pressure. Okay, we've got some pills for this. Sure, we can knock it down. And you think that the high blood pressure has then been fixed. And you know what? The symptoms of high blood pressure have. But going on the inside, did you ever fix the hardening of the arteries? That's why most people with high blood pressure, it ends up, yeah, sure. You may not die of a stroke. You die of heart disease, a heart attack. Or what about you never fix the imbalance between calcium and magnesium or sodium and potassium? You never fix the high cortisol. None of that was regulated, which means it's just going to manifest in a different way besides high blood pressure. I did a podcast that I would love you to check out previously. It was called The 6 Phases of Disease, or you can type in homotoxicology. It's a bioregulatory term. Most practitioners never study bioregulatory medicine. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to bioregulatory medicine, and I did some postdoctoral certifications in bioregulatory medicine. And I find it extremely fascinating that they took basically a lot of work from Ayurveda and then additional work as well. And this was something that was formulated in Germany in, let's say, the 1800s, late 1800s. And we look at, and again, it matches up perfectly with Ayurveda, the first 4 phases of disease, naturopathy, and all of the traditional forms of medicine look at. But it's only the last 2 phases does conventional medicine see, because they can lab test, they can see it. Beyond that, right? They can look at it in blood work, they can look at it with high blood pressure, and then they can medicate it. But there are 4 phases before that show you the oncoming disease. And those are just as important to look at, if not more important, because it's much easier to fix things when your rain barrel hasn't already overflowed. It's another thing. I mean, again, in life, if your trash barrel is overflowing or it's beginning to smell, do you just try to squish it down and put a lid on it? Or do you empty the trash? You empty the trash, right? And I know this seems absurd. And I want it to seem absurd. I really do. Because the way that we're helping people, and that's in air quotes right now, to me is absurd. When I had Addison's disease, I know that the doctors were just trying to help. Doctors are just trying to help. And they put me on Cortef. They gave me cortisol. Well, that has not been shown in studies to lead to a nice, long, healthy life. If anything, it's the reverse, right? So when I was put on all these medications, I was put on Prilosec for heartburn, all these things, well, then Barrett's esophageal cancer can grow, can continue to manifest. So these are things that we have to be careful about. So again, do we do a functional medicine detox when we feel that rain barrel overflowing? Like, again, there's a free quiz on one of my podcasts. It's in my book that shows you what your toxicity score is. This is your total toxic load, your total body burden. They're just little things that build up over time. What's your score? The higher your score, well, it's not a disease predictor, but it's a really good sign that there will be a dis-ease of your body coming soon if it hasn't already happened. So I want you to pay attention to this body, your car, that you're driving through life. Another one is this. When our car is low on gas, do we just push through it? So this doesn't just have to do with your doctor. If you're getting headaches, like I said, on a weekly basis, do you just keep pushing through? Do you keep taking Advil? A lot of people with, joint pain, do you just keep pushing through it? You're tired in the morning. Do you just keep drinking more caffeine? This is not on your doctor. That is something that I want you to be more self-aware of. For you, or like we talk about in the Integrative Health Practitioner course and certification, is it for you, or could you possibly teach that to someone in your own family? someone that you care for and that you want the best for. Maybe they may not be receptive the first time. I've said many things to my family. The first time, I want the best for them. First time, they're not open to it. Then, because we in my family, we have this kind of like wall you put up first, right? And then you're like, oh, well, what were they saying? Maybe I should look into this. And then eventually it starts to set in a little bit, right? Or they have to hear it in multiple ways. They need to hear it on the evening news. Like, hey, did you see that on the news? Like, no, because I don't watch the news. But I'm glad that you saw it, and I'm glad that that was your confirmation that you needed. Like, that works. That's great. So what we want to do is, if it's even not just for us, can we share it to someone else? Don't keep pushing through the symbols and symptoms of an approaching disease because you can, because caffeine will wake you up, because Advil or ibuprofen or whatever will take away the pain temporarily, right? That Benadryl will decrease your allergies, your histamine issues. So, or that not eating certain foods or only eating a handful of foods is what you can eat because you get bloating with everything else. That is still masking the pain. Oh, I can't eat any of those foods. You should be able to eat a wide variety of foods without it causing bloating, gas, distension, acid reflux, etc. I just want to give you one more example today. And this is another one that's really important as well. If you're driving an electric car and it's low on fuel or its lights are coming on, it cannot be solved or fixed or repaired or able to go on without the right type of fuel. This is extremely important because what I see right now with people are doing a lot of diet manipulation, a lot of way out there exercise, and they are pushing their body, and the body is keeping up, but it is slowly being worn down. Our bodies are very resilient. They're absolutely amazing. Again, I've given my airplane stories before. I have to fly a lot. I speak all over the world. I'm very blessed to be able to do all of that, and I love it. And I'll sit next to people, and they'll start a 6-hour flight because I fly to LA in California quite often. And they start the early morning trip because I always try to get on an early morning flight. They start it with coffee. A little while later, they're having their breakfast and they're eating whatever the airplane is serving, and they're having juice or so with it. Then after that, they might take advantage of a free soda. And then by lunchtime may come, they're also having a glass of wine. And it's just like, how many things can you put in this body? And this is probably not just you on an airplane. This is kind of everyday life. And how resilient that human body is. It's unbelievable. I mean, it is. It blows my mind. It really does. And I think it's amazing. Because I'll tell you this. If it can keep you going with that type of diet, imagine how it will feel when you begin to feed it the nutrition that it really needs. So an electric car needs to be charged, right? That's pretty obvious. And again, these things should seem obvious. And a car either takes regular unleaded or whatever the other two ones are, super unleaded, whatever it might be, right? It has a specific type of fuel. An NT car, you need to put in a special type of gasoline as well. So when you look at that, machines take their own type of fuel. Well, we humans are meant to eat a wide variety diet, as wide as we can for the most part, of brightly colored fruits and vegetables. If you're on a diet plan right now that is pushing you too far in any one direction, you will be able to do it. But I'm telling you right now, and this podcast is not about coming down on any one diet right now. I'm telling you right now, the person giving you this diet plan may not have a clinical practice where they run a lot of lab work. And that's not to disparage them in any way. But I have the ability to test people while they're on all these different types of diets. And I see what it does to their body. And that's why we don't need to go by, I really think this is the best thing to do. When we're trying to force these diets to work, we can see what it does to their hormone levels. People need a balanced diet. Their calories will vary. Their macros will vary a little bit. The amount of starch they take in will vary a little bit. But everybody needs their protein, their fat, and their carbohydrates. I'm not going to go into that today because I've explored this in more depth before. So I'll tell you this. When your check engine light is on, you don't just turn off the light. When you need oil light comes on or gasoline comes on, you don't just turn on the light. You give it what the body needs. okay? This is the exact antithesis to what we do with our own health. And I needed to share this with you today because everything we do in life is totally the opposite of how we take care of our health for the long run. We are always emptying the trash, taking care of the vehicles. We wear out our shoes. We get a new pair. Again, a button comes off your shirt. You repair the button. You do the things that fix this situation, not mask it. But I'm telling you right now, and this is not to just come off your medication. I am not telling you to do that. If you're on antidepressants, if you're on biological drugs, if you're on thyroid medication, if you're on medication, I am not telling you to come off. But what I am telling you is this. There's always a reason why. And the medication is masking the symptoms that your body was giving to you as a gift. I know it doesn't look like that, but your body was giving you these symptoms as a gift to tell you something's off. Something is off at a molecular level. I'm missing these B vitamins. I'm missing the ability to produce glutathione through the liver. I'm missing magnesium. I have an imbalance of estrogen to progesterone. There is an imbalance in the gut microbiome from, we'll call it bad bacteria to good bacteria. I have increased growth of candida. I have acid reflux because I have an H. pylori bacterial overgrowth in my stomach. Your body is giving you the symptoms, the acid reflux, the thinning skin, the dry skin, the low energy for the low thyroid, the higher levels of anxiety because of maybe higher levels of cortisol, lower levels of magnesium. It's giving you the hair loss or the dry skin or whatever it might be, the wrinkles, the fine lines, because you are now low on your zinc, your vitamin C, you're higher in stress, your hormones are imbalanced. So it's giving you these signs to tell you, listen, we're on your side. I just turned on the check engine light. I just turned on the oil light. I just turned on the fuel light. Just to tell you, here's what we need. This is what we need to do. But again, the problem with conventional medicine is the only tests that you're allowed to run through your doctor are those that test for disease. And that's where I went wrong. At 17, I didn't necessarily have a blood work-based disease, or not one that they ran for in a standard lab because I could have found it. What I had was something at a deeper level. Imbalances that they could have figured out if they had run some natural and normal saliva-based hormone testing over a 24-hour day. Some gut-based testing, an organic acids test, a stool-based lab, some food sensitivity testing. They could have found I had these, I didn't know it, severe sensitivities to dairy, right? I didn't know that. And so what I'm saying right now is there is always a way to figure out what is going on with your body. You can see any integrative health practitioner, any naturopathic doctor, any functional medicine doctor, anyone that knows how to help you. That's what it's all about. So there's nothing wrong with conventional medicine, and especially for acute-based care. If your life is at risk, don't go to see your local integrative health practitioner or someone that's not going to save your life, right? That's what conventional medicine is best at. Do that. Everyone should have an MD, but everyone should also have a health practitioner that can help them with their nutrition and exercise and all of those other modalities. They're all important. So when you start to get the headaches and you start to feel a little bit more sluggish and your hormones are imbalances or you have skin rashes, figure out what is going on at a deeper level. Find out the why. Figure out why the check engine light is on. If you do that, you'll be able to then empty that rain barrel, rebalance the body, replace the deficiencies, remove the toxins. You do that, I'm telling you right now, that is your absolute best chance. There's no guarantees in life, but that is your absolute best chance for not only staying healthy for life, but living a life with abundant vitality. And that's really what it's all about. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Cabral Concept. As always, I appreciate you. I appreciate your listens, your downloads. And as always, if this podcast was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only two ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.